HOA claimed they own mineral rights on my ranch. I proved otherwise and took their land. The Montana sun was sinking behind the hills, painting the sky in hues of fire and blood. When the sleek black SUV rolled up my dirt driveway, I'd been expecting them. The Homeowners Association HOA, though they called themselves Heritage of America, had been sniffing around my ranch for months, claiming mineral rights to the land my family had worked for 3 generations. They said they'd found some loophole, some forgotten clause in a century-old deed. I knew better. This wasn't about rights, it was about greed. I stood on my porch, boots planted, the weight of my father's old rifle resting against the railing. Not loaded, but a message all the same. The 2 suits stepped out. A man, slick-haired and smug, and a woman with eyes sharp enough to cut glass. They carried briefcases stuffed with papers they thought would bury me. Mr. Callahan, the man, who introduced himself as Bradley, said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, "We're here to finalize the transfer of mineral rights. It's all legal. You'll be compensated, of course." I laughed, a dry, bitter sound. Compensated? For what? The coal under my land? The oil you think's down there? This is my home, not your payday. The woman, Ms. Elaine Carver, stepped forward, her voice smooth but edged with steel. "The documents are clear, Mr. Callahan. Your great-grandfather signed a deal in 1897. The mineral rights belong to the original land trust, which we represent. Refuse and we'll take the whole ranch." My blood boiled, but I kept my cool. I'd spent months digging through county records, old letters, anything I could find. I'd found something they didn't expect. A ledger hidden in my attic, proving my great-grandfather had bought back those rights in 1902. Paid in full, signed, and notarized. They didn't know I had it. Not yet. The argument escalated. Bradley's voice rose, accusing me of fraud, of clinging to worthless dirt. Elaine's composure cracked, her hands shaking as she waved her papers. I held up the ledger, its leather cover worn but the ink inside undeniable. Their faces froze. "This says you're wrong," I said, voice low. "And I'm not just keeping my land. I'm coming for yours." That's when the twist came. My neighbor, Old Man Tucker, shuffled up the drive, his cane tapping the ground. He'd been quiet for years, a recluse since his wife passed. But he'd overheard HOA harassing other ranchers, strong-arming them into selling. Tucker had his own evidence. A map drawn by his father showing HOA had falsified boundaries to claim half the valley. He'd kept it secret, fearing retaliation, but my fight had stirred something in him. "They've been stealing land for decades," he said, voice trembling with rage. Time someone stopped him. With Tucker's map and my ledger, I had enough to bury HOA. I took it to court. The judge, a no-nonsense woman who'd grown up on a ranch herself, saw through their lies. The trial was brutal. Weeks of depositions, threats, even a late-night call warning me to back off. But I didn't. The verdict came down like a hammer. Not only were the mineral rights mine, but HOA's entire claim to the valley was void. Their land, their fancy office, their holding sit all reverted to the ranchers they'd swindled. I should have felt triumph walking onto their former property, now legally mine. But as I stood there, the wind whispering through the grass, I felt hollow. The land was scarred from their test drills, the earth torn open like a wound. My victory had saved my home, but it couldn't erase the greed that had poisoned this place. Tucker, too, looked haunted, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "Was it worth it, Callahan?" he asked. I didn't answer. I didn't know. The HOA was gone, but the cost lingered. Families had been torn apart, trust shattered. My ranch was safe, but the valley would never be the same. I'd won, yet the bitterness of the fight clung to me like dust. What's right isn't always what heals. What do you think? Did I do the right thing, fighting for my land, or did I just fuel the same greed I despised? Share your thoughts.